welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar, and we talk retail leadership here. And we're talking about boutique sales leadership. If you're in wireless, if you're in AV, if you're in appliances, if you're in anything outside of big box retail, this is for you. Especially if it's more than just an actual retail product that you're selling, it's more so also the warranties and specifically the services that go to actually be able to use the products and services that you're selling, right? Uh, and today we're continuing the series and we're talking about the hiring process, specifically the recruiting. Okay. Today we're talking about why you need to stop hunting for unicorns and you need to start building stallions. Because everybody's looking for that so-called top seller. I need to find the best salesperson. I need to find somebody that already has it. Guess what? If they already have it, you need to be paying a lot more than what you're advertising for because they're bringing something that you are not offering. And the fact is, you guys aren't offering that. You guys aren't doing that. You're not building up sales teams. You're hoping your teams will figure it out on their own. You're hoping that something will magically just align and you won't have to really do anything besides hire somebody that's just going to bring it and do it for you. And that's not how the real world works. That's not how our teams work. That's what leads to high churn, low team morale, high turnover, both on the employee and the customer side. And that's what you want to stop doing, okay? So if your plan is finding a natural closer, you don't have a plan. You have a lottery ticket. And you guys know how that goes, okay? So the three things that we're going to be focusing on today's topics, okay, on today's conversation, it's going to be top talent hiring usually loses, okay, and why that happens. Why hiring for coachability, not charisma, is the play. And why building producers with a actual development time. Okay, think about it that way, where you're not bringing in just somebody. You're actually setting up kind of like a roadmap for them from start to when they're actually going to be competent enough for the role. And you're thinking, well, I'm not hiring anybody that's incompetent into these roles. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in that role, there's a lot of things that they will not know from the get-go, regardless of their experience. And you need to build them up. So you have to have some type of development plan, some type of development engine to be able to do that. And that's going to be the third topic we're going to cover today. Now, when it comes to your top talent, okay, when you're hiring, is usually going to lead to losses. It's because there's a lot of things that comes with it. You're paying one a premium for that individual, and you don't know if they're going to perform for your company yet or for your industry yet. You're bringing them on board, and you're hoping that they're going to bring something, but they're also hoping that you're going to give them something in return besides a paycheck. Fuck the paycheck. I need support. I need to know who to turn to for this or that. If I got, a client or customer on the hook that's ready to move, the last thing I want to do is look like a fucking fool because we couldn't deliver on the back end or there was a bunch of issues through the fulfillment process. That is what you don't want, okay? And that's where your people are also judging you once they come on board. You want to get past that, and that's why you don't want to just hire for top talent. You want to be able to develop them, okay? Because when your rock stars come on board, when you hire somebody that is a true rock star seller for your industry, for your organization, you're gonna pay them more because also they know if they quit, they leave. That's the bulk of your your income. That's a bulk of that profit that's just going to be leaving. So let me keep them. Let me offer them this. Let me offer them that. And they also will take advantage. I'm not saying everybody will do it. But if they know that they got you by, los cajones, as we say, I mean, what are you going to do? And one, we should never have that type of relationship as an employer or employee because it should be based on mutual respect that we're taking care of each other. Right? And that's where a lot of organizations don't do right. And that's a different topic we can talk about. If you know what I'm talking about, leave it in the comments. Now, the other one is kind of like a survivorship bias, right? You remember that one hire who crushed it, but you ignore the other ones that didn't really make it, that left within that 90-day period. So in your mindset, you're like, if I just find another rock star, if I just find another rock star, but you're talking about a literal 20%, maybe a 10%, you know, I'm going to bring them on board and they're actually going to remain and last. I'm not even talking about the first 90 days. I'm talking about the first year that they're with the organization. How many of your employees from start to finish actually make it past the 1 year mark? And are, one of your top producers? How often does that happen? I know a lot of organizations where their top producers come in year 2, 3, and 4. Why? Because it took them a little bit of time to get to that 80, 90% mark and feel completely confident, and then also understand how everything works on the back end. Because the promotions change, right? The pricing on the vendors change. The way the fulfillment is done changes. The way projects are, aligned and executed changes. And if you're looking for that person to bring it within the first 90 days, you're being unrealistic. You got to understand where your team is coming from, because those people that are staying on past that year, where they're really great at year 2 and 3 and 4, you let them go because they didn't have everything I needed. Instead of looking at it as like, I can develop these individuals in these roles. We just need time, and they got to bring the effort, because I'm also going to bring the effort to coach and train and develop them by investing my time and energy into them. And that's what you have to be able to do. Okay? And the other thing too, when you're just looking for those unicorn sellers, guys, it's a volatility risk, because you don't know what you're actually getting. Yeah, they're great in that one-on-one because you're, one of the leaders in the organization, but how are they with the rest of the team? Are they leading to more people leaving the location than actually closing? Because they just have that toxicity and they don't want to assist. They don't want to be part of the team. Like, I'm just looking out for number one. Fuck y'all. Instead of like, hey, I'm here. We're going to win as a team. Y'all better catch up to me. But I'm going to make sure you guys don't flounder. And we're not going to lose sales as a team. What mindset are they bringing? Because if you're looking for sharks, that ain't it. Sharks cause you to lose more customers. Sharks cause you to have bad reviews, which leads to lower reputation and people not wanting to do business with you and your organization. Is it worth that risk? Ask yourself that. Because a lot of people don't think about that. They're thinking old school, this is 70s, 80s style selling, and we're just going for the hard close instead of understanding that nowadays that's not how things work. Honestly, it didn't even work back then, and it definitely doesn't work now. So what is it that you're looking for? Because we know things are now built on relationships. We built relationships with our clients and our customers. They want to know we're actually taking care of them, and we're just not on them with commission breath. And that's what you have to look at. And that's the things you have to actually ensure is happening, because you don't want the diva coming on board. You don't want that one individual to be the sole reason why that location is doing amazing. That doesn't do anything, because what if they go on vacation? What if they decide to just up and leave because somebody's paying them more and you're not willing to match it? Or you're not capable of matching it because it's a completely different industry. It happens. There are some people that are okay making $60,000 a year. There's others that need to make $200,000 or more. It happens. Okay? And yeah, I get it. In our industries, we can make good money. But you also know what the cap is. You also know what the actual average is going to be. And when you have a rock star, honestly, you should probably realize they're not going to stay in that organization very long unless you move them up. But then they move away from being a sole contributor. And there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of leadership that doesn't think that way. They think, I'm just going to keep them in this role because I look good with their numbers. And you guys know, look back at all the podcast episodes. What do I talk about? I want to hire people. I want to bring people into the organization that can replace me, can do what I do. Because if I can make sure that they can not only sell, but also do what I do, I can go on vacation easily. I don't have to worry about the numbers. I don't have to worry about operations. I can grow other leaders to take on new locations, new positions that are opening up. I create more for me by doing and giving more to my people, by developing them. And that's what you have to look at. And when you have, and that's one of our talking points, right? When you have something to develop them like that, it makes things so much easier for the organization as a whole. Okay? It really does. Now, the other thing too is when you're hedging your bets, if you're betting on this one individual to be it, you're missing the boat. You're missing the target. Because it's better to have more coachable employees that can perform. Maybe they're mid performers, but they're dependable. They actually get shit done. And then they have a system, and that system helps them to outperform that natural closer, because they're not natural, okay? And have less churn on the back end, less returns, less unhappy customer situations, less issues. I would rather have that than one person that's doing great, but on the back end, their fucking returns, their churn, it's just horrendous. I'd rather have 2 to 3 mid performers that are good, consistent, and we also have less returns and less churn on the back end, because net, that top performers may be at best a mid performer once everything comes back in. Once that stuff happens. And that's the truth, guys. That is the truth. There's a lot of companies that do a 30, 60, 90. I'm used to more of a 90 to 180 day return period, where that's what I'm responsible for. So you better fucking believe my people better be selling that shit for it to stick and not causing issues where we're constantly churning and burning, because then that's more work for me that could have been avoided. And more importantly, in the long run, as a leader, I have less of an issue with reputation at my locations compared to having those people that are just sharks churning and burning, because then I have more people that don't want to do business. Now that location has more of a bad rep until those people leave. And then you got to build that good faith, and it takes time to do that. And that's what you want to avoid as a leader. Build it up properly from the get-go, and it goes such a long way because it's in good faith, guys. We do things in good faith, and that's what you want to get after. Now, when you hire for coachability, not for charisma, not for that, oh, I got a gut feeling this person's going to be the individual. This person's going to be the one that brings everything I need. When you hire based on coachability because you have a system that teaches you and focuses that this is good, this pattern recognition that I'm seeing is solid, that goes further. Why? Because now you have signals that are defined. You know what you're looking for, okay? When you're doing the interview and you're asking them questions, it's evidence-based on what they're offering you. They're giving you solid, concrete evidence of what they've done, their thought process of how they get to that, okay? That really gives you an ability to see how coachable they can be and how well they work with others. That is huge. That is so important. But you're like, Omar, they're individual contributors. They don't need to worry about anybody else but themselves. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Because when they have deliverables, when they have to take care of issues on the back end, the fuck they're taking care of that shit. They have to take care of that on their own, because they're not going to pawn that to somebody else so that they can go sell and cause more issues. That's not the way to run a team, because that creates bad morale for the entire organization when you leave those individuals in. Those are leeches. You don't want that on your team, regardless of how well they perform, because they're causing more issues on the back end and they're causing more unfavorable opinions from the rest of your team. Because that one person's not going to be open to close every single day, 7 days a week, are they? You know that's not true. So super important. We live in a day and age where we're more interconnected, not just with the people that we do business with, but our partners in the business, within the organization, the vendors, the carriers, right? Depending on what you do, there is more involved now than ever before. So you have to make sure that that's super important. And when you're going through the interview process, having something like the STAR method that gives you an easy way to be able to pinpoint or and to recognize this is great as far as the response goes, this is not great. I mean, maybe dig in a little bit more because maybe they didn't understand the question. Maybe they have a different scenario, but they're not really connecting the two. And that's fine. That is perfectly fine because you guys are typically looking for entry level positions. But why the fuck are you looking for an entry level role for somebody with 10 plus years? It shouldn't happen. Okay? That should be rare to have come across your desk. In times of downturn, I get it. Okay? There's a shift in how things are done. But you also have to understand what comes with that. And if you don't know what I mean, leave a question, leave a comment. Okay? Maybe I'll answer it. Maybe. Now, having a structured interview process like the STAR method allows you to also be more objective, where you can ask questions, you get your responses, and you can jot down because you can understand if they answer the situation, if they give you the task, if they give you the action, and they give you the results. Super easy. A 1 to 4 or a 0 to 4 if they didn't answer any of that. Okay? Some of them are give me's. But you guys know how that goes. If you've done the interview process, you know sometimes you just get those individuals that can't really answer it. And this is not the role for them. Because there is a certain level of competency that we need. A certain level of experience. And if they can't answer that, we already know off the bat. That's not somebody that I want to bring on board because I won't have the time and energy and effort to be able to truly invest them to get them from 0 to just 1. Okay? You guys are looking for people at level 100. I'm looking for people that are level at 1 because I know I can develop them over time. And they're going to stick with the organization a lot longer. That's what you guys need to focus and do. I don't care if you're, a local sales leader, store manager, GM, an area manager, DM, a regional director, owner, operator. This is the truth about hiring and bringing people into the organization. When you realize that, it makes it so much easier to find other people to bring on board. It widens the talent pool so much more. And that is your complaint, that you don't have such a big talent pool. You can't find people. Is that what you're looking for? And the reality of things aren't matching. So something needs to adapt. And the reality of things isn't going to change. So you have to adapt to it. Simple as that, guys. Simple as that. Now, you could do things, right, like a sample audition. Think of it like a role play, scenario, things like that. But you have to be on point. And you need to make it very standardized so that you know what you're looking for. Because it is going to be part of the STAR method. So you know what you're looking for there. But you also have to realize that a lot of people don't do well being put on the spot right then and there. Especially when it's an industry that they don't have experience in. But you're like, Omar, their experience is going to be relatable. It will be. But here's the thing. If they're brand new, if they're green, they're going to have trouble relating it specifically. And that's you trying to find unicorns. And that's not how things work in the real world. Okay? So if you go to sell me this pen, if that's your thing, don't get me wrong. I've seen the movies. I've seen the quotes. I've seen the process. A lot of people have not. There's so many fucking ways to answer it. And if they don't answer it the way you want, you are full of BS. You're full of bullshit. Because you don't have a system. You need to develop a system, guys. Through the training, hiring, the entire process. But it makes it super easy. When you have something set up from the get-go for, interviewing, and then that equates to something on the hiring process when you've brought them on board in their first 30, 60, 90-day period, and then the check-ins afterwards, and then the future development plans, that goes a long way because now you can truly develop them. And stop with these BS, sell me this pen situation. They still need a little bit of training to truly grasp and understand everything that's going on. If you're looking for them to give you like how they open, cool. but it's better suited when they've given you an actual experience that they've had and how they went about it. I'm more curious to see how they went about things and how their thought process, instead of they have a canned, you know, sell me this situation, or sell me this product or service. I'm not looking for a canned response. I'm looking for how their thought process. I'm going to teach them and help them develop the frameworks that they're going to use to make them successful. But I need to make sure that it's not BS from the get-go. STAR method helps with that. Okay? So have your rubric, have your guide for how the responses should go, right? If you're doing 5 to 6 questions from the STAR method up to 8 questions, honestly, add 8 questions if you're doing more than 8 questions for the STAR method, because you're looking for 4 different things per question. It's way more than an hour, and if it's an entry level role, you're spending way too much time and you're wasting time because you should have already gotten an idea of what this individual is going to be like. More importantly, if you're going to be able to coach and develop them, because that's a question you need to ask yourself. Because you remember, they're selling you on why they want to work with the organization, and you're selling them on why they would want to work with the organization, why would it be a good fit. So it's a dual interview. And a lot of people forget that. They think, well, I'm the boss, and that's red flag number 1. But when you think of it like that, you're like, what are you going to bring to my table? Instead of, I can't do this without my fucking team because I can't open and operate 5 different locations by myself. So you have to understand it's dual. You gotta bring that, and you have to make sure that you're taking care of them so that they can take care of you as well. Okay? All right. I think so say for the likes. Now, the other part when you're looking at this, guys, is you have to have something to develop them over time, because that's far more important. You've gone through the interview process. You've brought them on board. You found out they're coachable. But it doesn't mean squat if you can't develop them, if they don't have a roadmap of what to expect, of where they should be at. By this date, I should be able to do this. By this date, I should be able to do that. By this, I should be able... If they don't understand that concept, you don't have anything. They don't have anything. They feel like a chicken with their head cut off because they don't know what they should really be knowing, because they don't know what they don't know. You know what they don't know. You know where they should be at. So don't be upset with them. That is a leadership issue, but it's an easy fix for a leader. Okay? Have onboarding milestones where they should be at after a week, after 2 weeks, after 30 days, at 45 days, at 60 days, at 90 days. Because there shouldn't be a ton of things between day 60 and day 90 that they really need to, focus and, really dig into. Day 60 to 90 should really be one core thing that's super important metric. Because the rest of the things have been kind of approached, talked about, shown some level of mastery, of confidence level building. And then you leave one of your hardest KPIs for days 60 to 90. Simple as that. And I've told you, when you have something like that, you would be surprised how often your people by day 45 are mastering what you had set by day 90. Because it's a type of gamification where they now have that level of confidence that I am doing this ahead of the fucking curve. I am ahead of where I should be based on the metrics. I'm doing great. I'm actually getting this stuff. I actually understand it. And they want to do more. Because it's not about them motivating themselves, guys. You got to do the stuff. When you do the stuff and you start to see results, you start to get motivated more. And you start to do more of it. It's simple as that. But you have to start as a leadership, as an organization, to have those milestones for them so that everybody's on the same page about what should be attained by what time frame. And then you have to have your coaching cadence. You have to be knowing when you're going to step in to do follow-up coaching sessions with them, to give them that feedback, because they want the feedback. I don't care what you think or who you think your people are, or what they think. Everybody craves level of feedback. Am I doing well? Am I doing bad? What do I need to improve on? What can I improve on? Doesn't matter what they say, Because the moment that they get good accolades about what they're doing, about the level of performance of how they're coming along, that gives them a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. It gives them that confidence, and they like it. Simple as that. Truly, truly important to get and to understand it. Okay? And then, guys, when you start doing cross training with like your mid tier employees, your top levels, okay, things start to really work well because now you're reducing the risk when people leave as well because you're now getting better performance. People are learning from each other. And that's the big thing about having those milestones because they can then lean on, hey, like, I'm having a little bit of trouble with this. You bring them on board, okay, you've gone through the milestones, you do your coaching sessions one-on-one, and then you also do group coaching sessions. That's why it's kind of important to bring people together as a group collectively instead of individually. Instead of having them start on, this day and then randomly on this day and then have them start at the same time frame. And then that way they could see where they're at compared to other people. And they can reach out to each other when you bring them on board and you're bringing them into their individual, their group coaching sessions because you're doing a group, training and they know like, oh, we start at the same time. Yo. As simple as that. It's very, very straightforward and simple, guys. Okay. And then you have your ramp up period with their scorecard so they know how they're doing. It's not just you telling them, but they also see that. So super important, guys. Super, super important. Now, with it, stop playing the personality game. Create a system and start manufacturing top performers. Start manufacturing great performance from the team. It is super important for that. And if you're wondering how you could do it, reach out to me directly or leave a system comment, and then I'll get in contact with you and we'll be able to talk. Okay? But guys, with that said, I want to say thank you once again for stepping into another episode here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.